This is Akshay. He got an interview at Google by building this crazy Dino Game Hack. What's even crazier is that he has done several internships in his college and all were off campus opportunities.
You will at least need to apply to 500 or 600 positions. That's just to get rejection or acceptance mails in just 50 or like even 20.
This guy is a genius and has built some of the coolest projects I've ever seen. In this episode, he talks about all his internships and also told me the secret to making so much money as a 20-year-old.
If I earn what I'm earning right now for next 4 years and save up, I'll probably be able to buy something like a Range Rover.
Akshay even told me the secret to cracking off-campus opportunities without actually being an expert at anything.
You don't need to know anything to start an internship. They're going to teach you.
You guys are gonna love this interview. It's a masterclass into cracking off-campus internships as a first, second, third year student. I am Sanskar and you're watching the Sanskar Show. What I felt very exciting about your profile was the Dino game you built. What was the story of that and how did you get your internship with Google after that?
Okay, so a bit of pass to that. So it is, so there are two different posts on social media. So one was, I think, 2 3 years ago during COVID lockdown. So I was in my village. I was trying to build a lot of projects and stuff like that. It was a casual morning, and I was trying to open my laptop. And again, there's no Wi-Fi connection or something like that. It's a village, so I have a mobile phone, and I used to connect a hotspot to the laptop. And it so happened that Airtel was down that day, and I tried for several minutes, and I had very good customer experiences with Airtel. They don't even pick your phone if you try on the customer care line. Even if they do, they're not going to give a damn about it. So who's going to put a tower on your village just because you called and said that? And that is not like a broadband or something. It's just a Wi-Fi hotspot connection. So no one is going to give much about a kid who's trying to do something in their village, right? So what I did was, let's not call the customer care. Let's do something. So the first thing that pops up when you do not have internet in Chrome is the Dino game, right? So
Yeah.
I still remember there are a lot of ideas around this Dino game. I've seen a lot of people build such projects before, and so I was like, you know what? Let's build a project on this. Let's build something like this, and I just took an LDR sensor, and then I just put it on my. I stuck it with the tape on my screen, and then I just automated the game. Right? It's not complete. Again, there are like a lot of things that come after the just the cactus plants that come there after
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But my whole point was to get Airtel to reply to that post. So what I did was I went on LinkedIn and I explained the whole story that either I could go ahead and call the customer care, or I could just make this project and tag Airtel in the comments, right? And then I did that, and I think that got huge reach on LinkedIn. I don't even
Yeah.
remember how many million views that had at that time. So Airtel ka the social media head, he comes in contact, he comments on the post, and he comes to my LinkedIn DMs, and then he calls me. I give him my number, and then he calls me, and then he addresses me very respectfully. And and he's a social media head, okay? It's probably with a lot of years of experience, and this is me in my second year doing all this stuff, right? And he sort of told me that we'll fix things for you. He was thinking that I was using a broadband because I was so
Mhm.
sort of demanding. Probably this guy is a good customer and he's using some sort of postpaid connection of
Yeah.
theirs, right? I on the other end was using the SIM card of theirs, right? So that was sort of intriguing. And then they have put their network engineers and everything on my line, and I had to share a lot of statistics. I thought that was it. I thought Airtel didn't give a damn about anything. But I think that day there was this particular thing that happened in Airtel, that they lost 4% market share that day. That has come down. So the social media manager called me again at when the when the 3:30 happens at Indian stocks, and he explained me what the post did to Airtel. They weren't specifically sure that it was this, but they said that they didn't have any other activity that could crash the share. So I was like, pretty much cool, but he wanted me to delete the post. I said, I am not going to delete that post until you fix it, right? And I thought it's just gone after that. But 1 month down the lane, I see a tower in my village that's newly built. So that's the kind of change I think a small project and a post on a social media platform can bring in. So yeah.
That's crazy. If I'm right, you have done about 7 internships in your college, and most of
Yeah,
them were, I guess, off campus, right?
right.
So, how did you apply to these opportunities, and more importantly, like, how did you sort of, prepare yourself for this all these internships?
Got it. So when I started, I think I never thought of a job. So I never took placements in college. So that was one
Hmm.
of the things that I think I did good to myself, because I never knew what placements are going to look like. I thought it was just, a lot of recruiters just coming and sitting, and then you just give an interview. So that's not how it works in a lot of colleges. A lot of colleges, they make you sit and do assignments for placements,
Yeah.
and they give you some sort of practical training that's mandatory apparently. And I knew this was beneficial after 2 years of my decision initially. That somehow benefited me, because I could do a lot of things than attending these placement seminars, which are utter bullshit, again teaching the same DSA and the same
Yeah.
system design stuff again and again and again. And I think that was really a good decision. I don't think, I'm not asking anyone to do this. Please don't do it. There are not much opportunities out there. It's better you get recruiters from the on campus, and yeah, show your talent and shine. That's probably it. But it was different in my case. Don't do this shit. So what I did was a bit different. So I took the risk because I wanted to go for masters. So everyone in my family wanted me to go for masters.
Okay.
So there was obviously no worry about the job, either I get it or not. So that was the kind of stuff. So when I started doing a lot of projects. I had lots of time to do projects, just because I did not have to do something that's job oriented. Probably if there was
Hmm.
something like that, I would have also started a rat race and gone into proper lead code, and do some grind on some 700, 800
Hmm.
lead code, hard medium questions. So I'm happy that I didn't do it that way. I did it differently. So I figured out how things should be done the best way. So I started with electronics. And electronics is really great, I feel, to learn coding, because if you try to learn something that's like web development or app development, in that perspective, I think you're just trying to do screens. So whatever you do is just going to be
Yeah.
on the screen, so there's nothing much miraculous that's happening. But I think when you do something in electronics, there is something that moves as you code. And I think you are bringing a non living thing to life by coding, and that feeling, I think, gives you butterflies. So I think that was a very good start for me. That's how I did it, and it never stopped. So I kept on marching towards robotics and all that manipulation stuff, and robotic arms, drones, and everything. So that's what I probably did for like the first 2 years. So almost nothing, no internship, nothing much. I think in my first semester I interned at one of my college's own startup. It was an edtech startup. I interned there. But nothing much during that phase. I just built projects. I built a lot of stuff, and I used to keep posting them on my private Instagram, not even like public LinkedIn or anything. So apparently there was I think it's very important to have a mentor. So a mentor who's
Yeah.
ahead of you in life, ahead of the same path that you have taken, but he's a long way ahead. And your goal should be to reach him, and then obviously you have to go for a next mentor because you have reached this goal. But
Yeah.
yeah, obviously stay in touch with your mentors. But so that's what I did. I found out who was the best guy in robotics in India, and I went to him, and he was very kind of answering my amateur questions at that time. And I kind of looked back on what I was asking at that point of time, and completely amateurish. If someone DMs me with that today, even today, I wouldn't probably reply. So that kind of I think that it was very kind of him that time. And again, once I reached out to him, not much insights, right? You're not going to get the whole cream out of anyone.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to just have that little things he won't share on social media. So he wouldn't probably share his secret sauce over social media, but he would probably share over DMs. right? So that's the only thing that you got to ask. You're not going to ask the same thing that he already does in the social media, you know, post
Exactly.
publicly. So that's what I did. So I got to understand the nitty gritties of, how things work and how he manages his finances being in college. So when you try to do robotics or things like that which involves hardware, you obviously have costs that are going to come alongside while building projects.
Hmm.
So that costs are not going to be that sort of easy for you to get from your parents, right? And I think they're already paying for your fees or your hostel. So trying to get more from them is just going to be a bit more hard and crunching. So I was trying to figure out, and I think no one will give you this advice, right, until you go and DM that guy and figure out how he is doing it, right? He also come from a middle class background or an upper middle class family, and he's somehow financing his projects, right? So I went to him and he said that, what, bro, he just gave me a gunshot answer, nothing beating around the bush or anything. He just told me that, what, I win hackathons, I win competitions which are involving robots, I get the prize money, I reinvest. Coming to how I found out internships, right? So I told all these stuff just to establish the fact that projects can get you internships.
Yeah.
So I've built a lot of cool things. I've built robots that could move autonomously, drive autonomously, indoor, do all that stuff. So it's almost the level of Tesla, right? So it's just that it's not outdoor. So if you're at that sort of level by your second year, now that's when I started doing internships. So the same mentor who saw me doing all these projects, said that, he opened a robotics company and it's going very well right now. And
Hmm.
so he sort of said that, what, we are hiring someone in the open source space. We're probably not going to give you any money, but if you do well in your first month, we'll probably pay you from the next month. I was like, okay, I'm getting paid for this stuff. Now I'm getting paid for something that I want to do
Yeah.
every day, that I was like, ahead of a lot of people who haven't done
Hmm.
projects by that
Exactly.
time. And not just that, I was trying to get my finances right, trying to go into competitions. This guy is telling me that he'll give me money to build stuff, not just build stuff and pay me on top of that for building, right? I was like, wow, this is crazy. I jumped on the opportunity, I went on, got some goodies and that stuff for doing the open source part. Great. And then I stepped up a lot, in a lot of stuff. Again, it's plain curiosity that made me step up at that
Yeah.
job that I had. And I built a lot of stuff for them. So they offered, at that point of time, a robotic lab that was remote. So anyone in India, from any part of India or any part of the world for that matter, could code a robot which is sitting in their laboratory in Pune,
Wow.
and then run the code, and they could see how their code runs. So a lot of people don't have access to hardware and all the money that you
Hmm.
need to buy a
Exactly.
hardware. So these guys came up with this stuff that you could just code the robot, and then and it was priced at around 100 rupees per hour or something like that. And I think that was not a big, very scalable idea. They're building robots for industrial purposes, I think, right now. But I interned there, and that was my first internship stipend. I was paid like 10,000 rupees per that next month that I worked. And I never stopped. So since they gave me a paid internship, I worked more, right? And I was like, bro, do you get paid for this stuff? I was like, I don't think, who's paying me for this stuff, right? That was the kind of mind that I had. And it's very important. I'll talk about why you should do paid internships specifically. I'm not talking about the money part here just yet, but I'll tell you why you need to do paid internships specifically. A lot of people argue that when you're a student, you shouldn't look much over the money part, but I'll tell you why it is very important. Second, so once I did that internship there, they offered me 15,000 for the next month. So I jumped up on the opportunity again, and then I completed that month as well. And then I was sort of sidelining my projects at that point of time. And when you sort of work for someone, you're probably working on their projects. And a lot of projects that were my dream projects are like indoor navigation robot and all that stuff that I wanted to build were halted. So I said that, what, I'll stop it here. This is probably where I should stop. And that's where I think I stopped. But again, reflecting on all those experiences and all the sort of stipends that I got. So the last one was from Bharatex, and again, Bharatex is a very good paying company. So I'm glad that today I saw some list on LinkedIn which puts like the top most paying companies in India, and Bharatex was in the second page. So I think that's where you saw the cold email as well.
Right. You know what stands out about you is that you chose electronics and robotics, because most of the folks, when they enter into college, they want to start off with web development, mobile development, front end, back end. So, what made you choose electronics and sort of go the hardware path?
All right. So I think when I was again a CS student, like a proper CS student,
Yeah.
took computer science engineering core branch, and when I started out at college, I think there were a lot of clubs in my college, and I think this was the main thing. The fees are not for the classes. I think for SRM specifically, or even
Yeah.
in VIT as well, it's not for the college; it's for the clubs, and clubs don't take money, the college does, right? So they take money for the wrong things is always what I say. So there are a lot of technical clubs in SRM at when I was there, and all these guys used to do a lot of cool stuff, build rovers and build autonomous flights, fixed wing aircrafts, all these things that go autonomous on land, water, air, they used to build. So this was something that stood out to me, and I wanted to join one of these clubs. And it's just not about curiosity or clubs. I would bluntly put this point, it was the ID card. So the whole college wears a different ID card, the one that's given by the college, and the people who are in these clubs, they wear a different ID card with that logo of the club. So I wanted to stand out that way as well. So that was one of the points that I wanted to join a club on college, which is technical. And again, when we come with this sort of background, and I was from the state boards, right? And state boards do not teach you coding at all, and CBSE does. I think I've seen a lot of people who
Yeah.
studied HTML in their ninth class and stuff like that, but yeah, state boards don't. So I only knew electronics. I probably did 2 3 projects in my ninth, never touched electronics after that, and had some sort of interest for what I have seen during that part of time. And in 11th and 12th, you'll learn a lot of physics that are revolving around
Yes.
electronics and
Exactly.
circuits.
Hmm.
And uh, and that probably told me that you're not going to apply for coding domain, you're not probably going to get selected for sure. So but you definitely have a chance at electronics. So that's what I did. So I gave electronics interviews, and that's where it everything started. So my intuition was I just start with the electronics club, electronics domain in the club, and then shift to coding,
Hmm.
because I can
Okay.
learn coding, and then I can say, you know what, I learned coding, just look at this, I can build stuff right now. So they can change me afterwards. So that was the reason. I think electronics was one thing. And again, if there was a red flag in electronics, maybe I would have changed, but there wasn't. So what I
Hmm.
figured out was electronics and coding go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So as I told you, that if you code something that comes up live in front of you, that's a great feeling to have. But again, the same thing can be done in coding as well. So it's up to you that you want to watch it on a screen or if you want to watch it on a robot. So that's the only difference between doing this or that. So there are a lot of technical things that are there in coding that I did the robotics way. So there are a lot of things like path planning, things like DFS or BFS or A star or Digistar algorithm, which are asked in Facebook interviews or interviews anywhere around the world, right? I didn't learn this through lead code. I didn't learn this through some playlist. I actually implemented on a robot. So the robot that I made, which was an indoor navigation robot, actually worked on these algorithms, right? So I never actually went ahead and looked in on a book or learned it from a playlist again. So that's the kind of learning I think I had. So very practical sort of things that revolved around coding. And probably this is the best way to implement those algorithms, and there is no other way to implement these algorithms. They only
Yeah.
work in robotics or self-driving cars, and that's why they're built. And you are doing that on lead code. I mean, that's great to understand how it works, right? But you got to implement on where it's meant for,
True.
right? That's the only application that it has, right? and it probably has very good application in software or databases, or the b trees so that we have in databases. But yeah, there are very good things that you could do in other parts as well, and that's what I did.
What's the coolest project that you have built?
Okay. So the coolest project I probably built was the Rubik's Cube solver robot that I built. That I think I even mentioned that in the cold email that I did as well. So this particular project was basically my affinity towards Rubik's cube. So I am a speed cuber, and I love Rubik's cube. So I always have one beside me always,
Wow.
and yeah, so I think I wanted to build something around it, right? And I was like, you know what, let's build a Rubik's cube solving robot. So I just show the cube to the computer and put it in the robot, and it's just going to solve. So that was one of the coolest things that I did, and I made sure that it's affordable. So I think I did it around 2500 rupees or something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, that was pretty good. And the main inspiration for that came from the MIT Rubik's cube solver robot, which again
Hmm.
is done at lot of thousands of dollars budget, and I did it in a couple of thousands of rupees. And
It's
that
great,
used to
yeah.
solve, I guess, around 0.5 seconds or something like that.
Hmm.
That's because they have got all the hardware and stuff like that. But I figured out the hard software part, which I made very streamlined. So you give me any cube in the world, and the robot will figure out to solve that cube in 20 moves, not more, not less.
That's
So
great,
it's
yeah.
always 20 moves. So it's gonna be just the hardware and the moving parts that are going to slow the robot down, but that's fine. So I think we got around like 5.5 seconds to 6 seconds per solve. So I think that's still a good achievement at that cost price. So yeah.
That's great, yeah. So, bro, how much do you earn?
So the thing is, I had a lot of offers. So I did Google Summer of Code as well before, and I got an interview with Google 2 times, and the second time was with the open source team. And again, once you are done with Google Summer of Code, I think I was pretty much lucky that one of the people in my organization was from Google, and
Okay.
they offered me a role there. So I think that was pretty cool. Again, you will have to get to all those interviews as well. That's just a referral, but the referral also matters from whom you are getting
Yeah.
the referral from. If you're getting a referral from an SD one, it differs. If you're getting a referral from the same team that they're hiring for, the referral is going to be top notch.
Yeah.
So it's basically that, I'm going to work with this guy, so I will choose whom you guys are going to hire, right? So that referral is going to go like above all those
Yeah.
other referrals that are like
Absolutely.
just blind referrals that of people, right? So I think that was the sort of referral that I got, and I was quite lucky that way. And yeah, so I think I had offers, like multiple offers from there, and one was from Microsoft as well. So that's how I got into Bharatex, right? So Microsoft presented offers for all the internships that they
Yeah.
gave FTE offers for, and Bharatex sort of cashed in the opportunity that Microsoft has interviewed these people and selected them, so we should probably get them to interview with us. So that's when I wrote a cold email to their CEO, and then I just got selected, and then yeah, so that's how it went. And probably Bharatex is one of the highest paying companies for interns as well. They do pretty good. So I think they do an internship stipend of 1.5 lakhs, and they also cover your rents and all that stuff
Okay.
while you stay in Bangalore. And you get like 5-star hotel stays and all that stuff, and unlimited holidays. The perks are next level. So yeah, so yeah, that's the kind of thing. But I think you can say that if I earn what I'm earning right now for next 4 years and save up, I'll probably be able to buy something like a Range Rover.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Again, after tax, after tax.
Awesome to
Yeah.
hear that, man. Awesome then. So, if there is someone in the first year or second year listening to us, what would you like to share with them from your experience so far, and just set them on the right path?
Okay. So if you're in first year specifically, and you don't need to be worried much about what you're going to do. So I think 4 years are just gonna pass away just like that.
Yeah.
So
True.
I think that you shouldn't underestimate yourself in your first year. So if you want to apply for internships in first year, go ahead, just go ahead. Don't, it doesn't matter if you have the skills or not. There are probably people out there who think in this mindset, recruiters, that you're in first year and you know this much, that's why we're hiring you.
Exactly.
So if you know the same thing in second year, you probably will not get hired, because this is not the sort of knowledge base that you should have in your second year according to the recruiter per se, right? So if you're in your first year and you think you are sort of want to explore the waters, go ahead and apply for an internship or some sort of fellowship that goes on. So yeah, I think you can directly go for something like Google Summer of Code or like MLH fellowship. Things like these are pretty much very good standards in the software industry. And so these are things that you could probably explore if you already know coding or something like that, or even on the designing fronts, right? And if you're into Web3 or stuff like that, if blockchain is something that interests you, you could try applying for Summer of Bitcoin or things like that, right? So these are again very high paying things. So if you get these, you probably are set with your fees, boss. So that's the kind of things that these
Yeah.
opportunities also bring in. um yeah, and I think if you don't want to ponder on these opportunities, and if you want to just get started with coding, or just start with, you just want to get started with technology, I think you can just explore everything per se. So if you're in first year, you have a lot of time, so you can explore app development, you can explore web development, you can explore electronics, robotics, IoT, and all the stuff, right? VR, AR, AI, ML, deep learning. I can keep on going, explore all the fields, right? That's what I have done. So I have projects in all the fields, so I know how every field works, I know what field makes money.
Right.
That's why I'm not in robotics, that's why I don't have a robotics job right now. So I figured out robotics is not something that will work in India, right? It's something that will not even work in abroad as well if you're not really good. So you need to be a researcher in robotics to probably make money in a robotics field. So you need to be at the top notch at the field to earn money in robotics per se. And that's the kind of thing that robotics comes with. And India, it's still in a premature space. So we still have robotic startups that are not like solidly funded as Web3 or like any other Web2 company or like any other app. So I think I figured that out. So I think it's again, it's another game altogether. So explore whatever you want. So you will feel where the money is in, so you will feel where your career should be at. So if
Yeah.
you don't try AR VR, you probably will not know how that field is going to turn out for you. Probably it's very curious and all that stuff for you, and that you'll only understand after exploring. So I think exploring in first year is very important. And now I'm going to talk about people who wanted to do this in first year and are now in second year, right? So again, if you are in your second year, you probably like, let's say you want a job, that's what most people want. And this is where it completely differs, right? So since you have skipped 1 year, you will probably have to do all that again this year. So you will again have to start exploring stuff. And the problem is, people probably started exploring in first year and
Yeah.
you're late to the party, but nothing really wrong. Even if you're fourth year at this point of time, it's still fine, right? You can still explore the waters at this point of time as well, right? But probably you'll not get time to explore all the waters out there. So probably, let's say you start Android development, and someone literally, let's say someone likes me doing Android development and says that, you know what, let's get you to intern in a company, and you'll probably live your life for the next 6 months or 1 year doing Android development. If you would have started in your first year, you probably would have done one internship in Android development, or let's say you just explore Android development as a hobby or something like that. Then you go on to
Yeah.
the next one, because I think there's not much things that you can do in any particular field. You will probably have to switch after some sort of explorations that you do, build some apps and build something cool that will wow people's minds, not just recruiters. So I think you just keep doing that. And yeah, I think if you start early, that's much better. If you don't start early, you can still explore a lot of stuff. So exploring is something that's really important. But when you go to fourth year, that's when you need to be like streamlined and steady. And you should really understand what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So there are a lot of people in software development. So people who like to code, people who don't like to code but know to code,
Yeah.
right? It's just that they don't want to write code. So if you have done that sort of exploration, you know what's going to come your way. So there are certain fields inside robotics, there are certain fields inside, specifically inside tech, that does not require you to code often. So you, if you would have explored all those fields, you now know what works for you, you now know what works for your future or your career. So 1 month or 1 year down the line in your job, you know what's comfortable for you, right? So you know, developing packages every day, developing new code, writing new
Hmm.
code every day doesn't work for you. What works for you is getting packages from outside and getting them to work is what works for you. You would probably switch into that field. So if you explore, you will get to understand more about yourself and what's going to work for you. Hard work, smart work, what's going to work for you, that's only gonna, you know, come out when you do explorations. So yeah.